special meeting?
No, I called the special meeting, you don't need a motion.
Okay.
So it's been called
Just need a
and,
majority of council to approve.
and we know it's for the budget, so the time, the date, and the purpose have been called. But do we need a motion to change the agenda? No. Change the order? Okay, do you wanna come up just by yourself, you figure you're,
Oh, just me.
okay, and this will be, item number, 5C. And could we get a motion then on 5C, Councillor Long?
I'm just getting to it now, but
Page 41.
options one.
What?
Yes.
Counselor Courtly, Counselor Cassick.
Oh, yes, we
They're part of the subdivision and development field board.
turn your mic on and say why they're leaving. The,
Councillor Courtly and Councillor Panasic will have to excuse themselves from council deliberations on this item as they're part of the subdivision and development appeal board meeting, so you'll have to leave the meeting.
Would we vote?
Yeah.
Just give me a point.
Fine, I'll bring my coffee over here.
okay, Councillor Long?
I move that the Campbell High Prairie Subdivision Development Authority approve the subdivision application SUV 2016, and the developers to comply with all conditions of Campbell High Prairie Development Permit 21-2015. That is correct.
Okay, do you wish to let us aware of anything, or you just wanna hear what our deliberations are?
Well, if you want to hear from me, I could say
Okay.
a few words.
Yes.
I'm here to ask for that subdivision again, and in the meantime, this spring I had a buyer. Came from Grand Prairie, husband and wife. They really liked it, they wanted to buy it. I couldn't sell it to them. And in between waiting another 6 months, they pretty much walked away. So we're both losers in here. The town's a loser and I'm a loser. The taxes aren't gonna be collected on there, and I could be another 6 months to a year before I sell that again. And it's tough going, and I just thought that council was putting walls up instead of building bridges with us. We've done a lot in this town, and I didn't think that that was such a big decision. It's easier to sell something that's half the price than it is for the whole thing. And maybe at the time, if I was told I needed, I wouldn't have got subdivision, or if they couldn't, I probably wouldn't have built that there. And it's just, it's frustrating. It really is.
I only comment on the fact that when you first got the development permit, it was not, the town did not know that you were anticipating splitting the lot. So, to me, I'm looking at that as a separate business transaction, the splitting of the lot, because we were fully supportive of you building the duplex. You know, the concern on the size of the lot, but it went through with no problem. So then the splitting of it became a concern, and the only reason it was a concern to me, and I'm not sure about the rest of them, the councillors here, but it was a concern to me because I didn't see any documentation letting any of the neighbors know that you were anticipating a splitting of the lot, that you were requesting a splitting of the lot. Now I see in the package, everybody was notified, and I have been told from the administration that there were no concerns. So you have my full support now, because now I know that there are no concerns expressed by any of the neighbors.
Okay.
Councillor Rose?
I just want to give my support again, Daryl. I was supportive of this application when it first came forward. I think that it adds a greater value to the subdivision, and I was kind of confused about why we didn't approve it in the first place, because the subdivision is going to allow 2 residents versus allowing 2 tenants. I mean, we were always gonna have the same amount of people in that home and the same amount of people parking in the driveways, and so the concerns for the neighbors and whatnot seem to be a little bit confusing to me. I think that there's an added value in our area having owner-owned and occupied homes. I think that's gonna add greater value to the opportunity for more development in that area. And I think that I would love to see that you continue to develop in that area and that there would be more assessments. So hopefully you'll continue to move forward with future developments as well.
Well, hopefully.
Councillor Dinac?
The documentation that you have provided with this one alleviates my concerns, and I would like to apologize to you from the beginning in terms of not being, not being able to see beyond the bylaw, which was my concern because it didn't meet the land use bylaw, but you've met all the other concerns that I had regarding the other tenants, and you have my full support.
Councillor Long?
I've commented before that we have a downtown revitalization program, and that's the Daryl Shuchuk program. So for that, we always thank you. And again, I think that not having the information from the surrounding residents was an important aspect. That's an important part of this process. But aside from that, it doesn't set a precedence. We can change from one to the next to the next to the next, and we don't have to do the same thing for this person as we do for you. We don't have to do the same thing for this person that we did for that person. We don't set precedents. That's one of the beauties of zoning and all of those things. So, and with subdivision. So, you absolutely have my support. You always did. And, I'm glad I was able to be here for you.
Councillor Gilmore?
To be honest, I was one of the people who did not pass it originally. I'm willing to admit that. And that part of it was that there was a couple questions in my mind which have been settled because of the extra documentation, seeing all the different neighbors and having said, given support to it, and also trusting our Havan with his report as well, that everything fits. And so in this case, I'm reversing what I originally said, and I am actually voting in favor of this motion. I have to admit, I'm as much as everyone knows you, I'm still new to the community, and I vote on what I see in front of me. And I appreciate what you're doing for the community. And but I'm very happy you brought the extra stuff this time, so that we're not going to waste any more of your time on this one. You can just go straight ahead, and we will be as supportive as we can, that you can then sell that lot and get on with life.
Do you have anything to add? Okay, well, we appreciate you coming and spending an hour listening to us to deliberate on taxes.
Actually, it was quite interesting. I'm glad actually I came and listened.
Well,
Thank you.
we're hoping that.
Welcome to stay.
Oh, no. No.
He's had his nap.
Yeah.
He's had his nap.
We're hoping that the residents of the town of High Prairie, both business and residential, can see that we are trying to make it easier for them. And this is a good example of trying to accommodate the people in this town. We're a small town. We're not a big city that is constrained by a lot of the other bylaws and zoning and regulations that they adhere to in order to be careful.
That's why I thought we would try something different in this town and bring something affordable.
Mm-hmm.
And it just hasn't been very good.
Yes, I'm really not sure, Daryl, what could have been different on that, because we didn't have enough information to start with, and the intent of the subdivision was single family, and we went around in a circle on that, and then finally said no. Now that we've gone through it again and got the residents, at least this was a turning point for me, making sure that everybody who bought there and thought they were buying what they were buying is now aware that no, there possibly could be duplexes, good-looking duplexes, no problem whatsoever. Possibly though, there might be multifamily dwellings in there.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, we appreciate you coming in. And thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, Cindy.
Yeah.
We just need to vote
Oh.
on the motion then.
Yeah.
We have a motion, do you want to read it out?
Oh, sorry. Town of High Prairie Subdivision Development Authority approved the subdivision application SUB 2016 and the developers to comply with all conditions of the Town of High Prairie Development Permit number 21 2015.
All in favor? Do you have questions?
I thought I was reading that it also needs to include, because of the size of the back lot, the municipal.
That will be on the development permit.
That's gonna be on the municipal. Okay, I'm fine with it.
All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you. You can let the, them come back in.
Just want to make sure the motion was complete, so we didn't go through this again.
That's right, on both of them.
That's right.
Okay, now we'll go back to the Sesquicentennial Committee, page 24. Motion of Councillor Long.
Council appoint Nancy County to the Sesquicentennial Committee.
And the recommendation was different, so do you want to explain your motion, or?
Well, we don't have a counselor as such now, and I'm not sure if we actually need a third counselor on the committee, which is going to consist of 4 people from the town, and then 3 counselors. I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, Councillor Rose?
It was been brought to my attention by the chair and by other members of the committee that we have a term of reference, and the terms of reference say there's 3 counselors appointed from the town of High Prairie, 5 members at large, and they would like to see if we are willing to comply. They've asked a number of times to bring it forward and to see if there's another counselor that's willing to sit to replace the Councillor Gilroy who chose to resign.
And everybody is aware that we could, the Sesquicentennial Committee is a creature of the council, and if we wish to change the terms of references, we can change them. Just bring it forward again. So it isn't like we have to comply. The Sesquicentennial reports to the council. So, Councillor Rose?
And I would say if there's no other counselors that are willing or are interested in sitting, that's what we do, is change the terms of reference. If we do have a council member that would like to sit on it, then we could adhere to our terms of reference and we could satisfy the request of the board.
Councillor Gilroy?
I forgot who are the members at large. Do we have 5? Because you just said 3 counselors and 5.
We've run ads for members at large, and Nancy's now volunteered to take
So
one of those
will she
positions.
be the 5th one? Or will you still be one short? Because if you're going by the terms of reference, then you still have to get an extra person in there.
So we've tried.
So I think it'd be easier just to change the terms of reference to meet the requirements that the Sesquicentennial may think is appropriate.
Well, considering that it's June, well, it'll be May, June, July. I mean, it should be all set pretty well what they're doing. I'm not sure what the addition of another 2 people and a counselor would accomplish. Councillor Rose?
Now that things are more set, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of committees without a lot of people. We're short. Now, we've put ads out. Nancy has tried to find us a member at large. And then she sent an email saying that she was willing to help out, and we asked her if she wanted us to consider that email as a request for member at large, and she said sure, she would help us out. Now, there hasn't been another application for member at large. Now, all I'm saying is if there's a counselor that would like to take that position as per our terms of reference, I think we should give the counselor the opportunity, because the committee could use the help. Now, if nobody wants to, that's fine. We can come back and we can readjust it. But the board chair, as well as the rest of the board, asked me to bring that forward.
And
Councillor Gilroy?
I'm just saying that you were talking about the full quorum of the people there according to the terms of reference, and I was just asking about the member at large. If one of the councillors here would like to volunteer, I'm all for it. But if you're gonna quote that you want the full quota of according to the terms of reference, then obviously we're gonna have to continue to try and get that extra person until it's the terms of reference that the town has laid out.
Councillor Panasic?
Yeah, I was approached and asked if I would go on if there was, and I did say that I would go on and volunteer to help out, and don't mind lending a hand to that committee as it moves ahead.
Councillor Long?
Then I apologize for omitting Ann Counselor, because it certainly wasn't my intent to drop that out, and I just realized now why I thought it was here, because I didn't say anything else, so.
I see.
So,
You're amending?
well, as read, so the council will appoint Nancy County and Councillor Knapsik is the superintendent.
Any other discussion? Do we want to change the terms of reference to reduce the member at large amount? Or do you want to continue to advertise?
Continue to advertise, I think.
Or minimally keep it open if somebody wants to volunteer to take that position and come aboard.
All in favor of that motion? That motion is passed. Next item is Councillor Rose?
The council rescind motion.
Just hang on. Does not the procedure bylaw say that the person to rescind has got to be the person who made the motion?
Doesn't say that. I read the procedure bylaw.
Don't they have to, doesn't it have to?
It doesn't say it in our procedure bylaw.
Really? I thought it did. I actually did think it did.
Not what I read, unless it was changed.
So everybody.
I'm
knows
happy
it
for
up?
Councillor Panasic to make the motion.
I just wanna make sure that, withdraw. Motion to, it's on page 12 of 21, motion to rescind a previous motion may be made by any member of council and may be offered at any time subsequent to a meeting in which the original motion was passed.
So it can be made by anybody.
Yeah, so, it can be made by anybody. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to rescind motion number 182/17.
Okay, discussion on this item? Anybody want to start? Councillor Tanaka?
I'm just wondering if we can amend the motion as opposed to rescinding it, to take out, the date and just put something, as per the intermunicipal agreement that satisfies the needs of both parties. But keep the motion on the books, cause are we not discussing this issue? As opposed to rescinding it completely, at least it's still there, but being that there's the constraints about, time and stuff, if the intermunicipal that's attached here deals with 6 months, I think it says, or any changes to the agreement, that we can still keep the motion on the books, but just change it to Council direct administration to enter into discussions with Big Lakes County to dissolve the High Prairie District Rec Board, take out and transfer operations of the rec facilities to the town of High Prairie as per intermunicipal agreement that satisfies the needs of both parties involved. Well, I just added some stuff.
Okay, Councillor Rose?
I think the motion was made in haste, and I think that anything besides rescinding it is ineffective. We may as well keep it as it is, because the rec board made the motion already, and this council was told on various occasions that that was in the works. And when the motion was being made, I believe that Councillor Courtley shared some information with the council, and it was a disregard for the rec board as it stands to sort of circumvent them and decide, even though the motion was on the table by the rec board, to bring forward the rec director, communicating with both CAOs, creating a plan, presenting that plan to both councils so it could be done in a way that both councils had the opportunity to feel like they were involved and included in the process, that we just jumped right over, and we created problems because of it. Like, we had the opportunity to just allow that process to happen, and I don't really understand why we chose. Now, I will not vote in favor of anything besides rescinding. I would have never voted for any other motion besides I felt that we were put in a pressure situation to mitigate a situation that could have even been more damaging.
Okay. Councillor Long, do you have anything to say?
And again, for those of us who are at the intermunicipal, we have to be cautious about what was said in camera, what was said out camera. And just for the record, before I go further, I failed to see the harmonious respect from the county. I failed to see the open dialogue and mutual respect, and I didn't see that from the county at all.
In camera?
I can't talk about in camera, but that being said, obnoxious, rude, in my opinion. I know, don't like it, huh? Because I say something that offends somebody does not make them right. The rec board needs to go. Don't roll your eyes, please. I try really hard to be respectful. The rec board needs to go. It has been a thorn in our side since we got elected, because of the Johnson report, because of municipal affairs, and when we decide to not follow the proper protocol, and God forbid we take the initiative to create a motion and a direction that suits this town, i.e. follows the Municipal Government Act. We have changed 68 of those recommendations. Why is it that this one is so hard to change when it really isn't? And so we've waited and waited until I start getting phone calls from the public saying, what the heck's going on? I don't know. It's personnel. And to be quite frank, I don't care about issues of personnel. It's not our mandate, it's not our purview. I do not want to get my hands dirty in trying to figure out who got fired, who didn't get fired, who got laid off, who didn't get laid off. Not our role. That being said, we are in contravention of the Johnson report. We are not meeting what was recommended to us 4 years ago to get rid of it by Municipal Affairs. That the board is working on. I offer my apology to you because you worked hard at it. I was not aware of how hard. But like you, who will not vote for anything unless it's a rescinding, I would never be in favor of creating a rec board committee, a rec board. We need to have that in control. Now, I understand that we also need to have funding applications done, and so those things can be worked out. But the rec board has to go. It's a dinosaur of the days gone by, and so when we worry about the financial aspects of it, and again, I have to be careful because you can't divulge what's inside and what's outside and on the camera and everything else. But it's always been, when we talk about the county, always with that is that $1 million over here, and they fund us here, and we got to be careful how we do this, or else they won't do this. And the bottom line is, I will follow good governance, and I will vote in favor of good governance over a nickel and $1 and $100 or $1 million. Can't buy me at all. And governance is one of the main reasons why I ran for this office, is because the town is in such bad shape, because we had the province come in and run our town, because we had a council that was so arrogant that they thought they knew better. And that goes for the county as well as for this town. And I cannot abide by following and towing the line of keeping the rec board in play, if that's the county's wish, and contravening everything that we've been told from the province. So it was needed to be done. I think it was needed. It's pushed it forward. It's brought it to the forefront. And if a date, if we remove a date, and if that helps, I don't know. If we put a motion forward that allows the board to continue on to try to come to a solution, I'd be in support of that. But I will not be in support of removing the motion that says it's time to get rid of the rec board. We need that in place. But we also need our counterparts here and colleagues. We need to give them the respect and the room to maneuver to try to come up with some sort of solution. Which, again, I already apologize once, but I won't do it again. But that's my position. We need to follow our government's direction. And thus far we haven't.
I want to see if anybody else has any comments first. Councilor Gilroy?
It's a good thing I don't attend in-camera stuff. My intention, and I can say this because was that if I had made the motion, I'll tell you right now, if I had made the motion, it would have said, I want council to direct administration to enter in discussions with Big Lakes County to set up the framework to dissolve it and bring it back by a certain date so that both councils could look at it so that we can get it done. Not just by this date bring it into our nest or whatever. First, if the county wants to take over the rec board and do it themselves, I'm fine with going under that CAO. If they want to do it under ours, that's fine. But what I'm saying is that I agree with Michael that it's time it needs to be done, but it needs to be done in such a way that we empower, and this is all I wanted to do, was empower our CAO to talk to them to get it done, because partly because I keep being told that that the wishes of this council don't have to be completely followed by our reps because it's a separate entity. So that's why I wanted my CAO. I know these guys will do their best to follow it, but I've been told so many times that they don't, that their number one interest is the rec board itself, not necessarily the wishes of our council. So after being told that enough times, I would rather empower our CAO to continue that good relationship we have with the county, to set up the framework. If it includes the rec director, fine, just get it done, as opposed to waiting till 3 councils from now if you're gonna do it that way. I just want some action and not necessarily rushing everything in. Because my concern as well, and I've already been assured that it's that this is not a fear, is that I want to make sure no one loses their job out of this. I want to make sure it's just a smooth transition, and we've got some intelligent people on both sides. But also, if I'm told that there are concerns on the county's part, and they're not happy with the way we're doing things, I have a telephone. They can phone me, because I'm not hearing anything about disgruntled county councillors. Each one of us have phones, and I think if they need to talk to the entire council if they're disgruntled about the way we're dealing with our governance, because we have a responsibility to the people who we're charging the taxes to do the very best job possible. And as I said, I don't care if it's a personnel issue, because that's not my job. Our job is to make sure we handle the funds we're given and the responsibilities we're given. It's up to the rec board to deal with personnel issues. And that means that they hold the rec director accountable for their decisions. It's their job, not ours.
Councillor, anyone over here? Councillor Portland?
I wasn't here for this motion, and I wouldn't have voted for it. I would have voted against it. I think what we've done here is in my view and my ideals we've just set our relationships back with the county probably 20, 30, 40 years. Realistically, we put ourselves from a win-win situation to where we're going to lose. End result is we're going to lose as a community. We're going to lose for our townspeople. It's just going to be a wreck. And why I say that is because I could have swore our own provincial government is trying to create relationships with all of the municipal governments. So they're pushing relationships, partnerships, all kinds of stuff down the line. They're trying to invent this whole new idea. But we were ahead of the curve with relationships and partnerships with the county. We have something here that other communities begged to have. We have an ability to have beautiful facilities that's partnership, the funding's partnership. Right now, a county person or a town person can go in and out of them, and they all feel like one community. What we're doing here now, we're going backwards. We're going to put it to the point where, well, I'm afraid to even say that they'll probably end up, it's just beyond me. I just can't figure out or fathom the whole idea of this, because we had a good thing going. We really did. Recreation loses money, and we know that. On our own, we wouldn't have the facilities that we have if it wasn't for partnerships. Now, if we're going to try to do this on our own, we will not have that service. It will lose. We will not be able to fund or give the service with our funds that people have become accustomed to. It costs money. We lose money every year on recreation. But because of our partnerships, we're able to withstand that. If this goes the way I think it's going to go, will just end up being like a regular, like, I think it's a per capita basis for recreation and all the other, hamlets and stuff in the county. I'm just throwing that out there. I can see what's gonna happen, because there's counselors out there that are gonna vote for the fairness. Because right now, High Prairie is way above all the other counties and hamlets on recreation funds. So it drops the value that they're at there still might be a value coming, but it's gonna be at a way reduced rate. So who's there to pick up the rest? And then, if we get rid of the rec board, which is a society, we lose a funding vehicle for our infrastructure and our programs. We got the slide, we got an $80,000 grant through our rec board society that put money back into to fix and retain the slide. I think it was $30,000. We got a grant through the Societies Act towards our new Zamboni that we wouldn't have got if we didn't have that society. Now you can say, you can't be bought, but you know what? At the end of the day, we're all people in the community, and we all need and love to have our recreation. And if it takes partnership, and if it takes a little bit of a give and take with our neighbors, and it's for it. It makes perfect sense. And I'm just really afraid of what's gone down the line, and I'm really upset because it's just wrong. It's wrong, and I'm done.
Councillor Panassa?
This was a huge mistake by our council to put this out, and we have to retract this in its entirety, and that's the only thing that'll work. And even then, it's already done some damage that we might not be able to repair in those relationships. And I think our relationships with our neighbors are critical out there, and if we can't maintain those relationships, we're in big trouble. And we stepped on those lines, and I guess on top of that, without, we talk about dissolving the rec board. Well, no, we can't dissolve it because that society can get us money, and that's my opinion. We have to keep that in some way, shape, or form so we can get those $80,000 in grants that we've been getting. So yes, we need to rescind this motion. The whole issue was already being dealt with. The rec board and the councillors were already starting down the road. We put a date on it. We didn't need to. So there was a lot of issues there. Remove it, let the CAOs work together, get it to fruition. And I have trust that they'll do it. The other thing is, we talk about being, we have an issue with not following an agreement that we've already signed. We have a notice period if we want to change that. And as soon as we're opening up that agreement, the intermunicipal agreement, it's going to cause us some other issues too in funding. So we have to rescind the motion and let the CEOs and that work on it the way that it was being done, and I think that's the best way to proceed.
Councillor Rose, and I'll come back to you.
Okay, so just a couple comments, and Michael, to your question about us following good governance. The Johnsrud report was out prior to us being elected, and any one of us at any time could have brought forward an RFD that suggested that we turn recreation or try to start this conversation. Like, that could have happened at any time. We could have gone to our rec board representatives, of which I did. I had a conversation with Councillor Empter, and I did have a conversation with Mayor Cox, and Mayor Cox didn't support it at the time. Now, I get that things change and that we change our opinions about situations, but at the time when we had the conversations, it wasn't being supported by the representatives that we did have on the rec board. So things change, and the representatives on the rec board were starting those conversations, and like I said, the council knew. So Michael, when you have an opportunity to answer, I'd love to hear why you never did in the last 3.5 years bring forward a motion that you're so passionate about that you're not willing to wait and allow due process to be set. And Councillor Gilroy, you say you have a phone, and that's awesome. I have a phone too, and so do all the other rec board members. Not one phone call to a rec board chair or director about this issue from this council or from a member of this community. So that I find is kind of it. Okay, Brian.
You're not very communicative.
But that I feel really, I'm very disappointed by. That we made a quick, hasty decision without even asking one councillor. And that we're saying that you were inundated by phone calls. I find it very interesting when I polled everybody, not one phone call. I asked the recreation director, the recreation admin office. Nobody really called their office besides to find out if the pool was open. So those things concern me and disappoint me that we didn't allow ourselves to handle it better. And that we did discuss before we made the motion. You guys knew that the rec board made a motion, had proceeded with part of the motion, which was have the rec director contact the CAOs of the town and the county to start a restructuring process to present to our councils. Now, I'll just ask Brian, did that process get started? Did you have a conversation with the rec director and the CAO of the county to start that process prior to us making this second motion?
Yes, I did. We had one meeting.
And did you share that with this council prior to them making that decision?
No, because we were still in discussions with, there was nothing, no confirmed information to bring back to this council.
So the only information that you got was via myself, when I said that that motion was made and that I believe that those conversations had already been started. So I am disappointed that we didn't just allow the process to work. I don't disagree. I very much support the recommendation of the Johns Root report, and I very much support moving for a lot of reasons. And there's going to be a lot of cost efficiencies. There's the opportunity to move it over as a department of the town is the right decision. But the process was started, and like I said, I'm just disappointed that we didn't allow that to go, and I'm very much afraid that we have, like Councillor Courtley said, we're going to take some steps backwards. And I've spent a long time, I was on intermunicipal for 3 years, I spent a long time trying to build relationships, because I agree, it's about regionalization. If we're going to move these communities forward, this community forward, it's not all by ourselves with walls around High Prairie. It's a regional effort that involves the county, it involves First Nations, but it really, right now, what we're looking at, just saying it doesn't matter. We're not going to be bought. We need to work together. The reason why we've got funding for education, the support we've got from the hospital, that's all because, and I've heard Danielle Larvy's talked to us, said she loves the way we work together. We work together so well that they're able to support us as a region better than they've ever been able to support us as a region. So that's why I'm saying I think we should consider how we proceed and allow the process to work that was already in place. Councillor Knoll?
If things are going so well between the town and the county, and they're so respectful towards us, when I was called an asshole when I left the facility and was still in the lobby when I overheard it, where's the respect? Now, 40 years I've set back the relationship between the town and the county.
I don't know,
Maybe 20. You know what? I am surprised that I have so much impact. One person goes into that facility and disagrees. The process, we don't follow the process of a board and an intermunicipal. Okay, a step was missed. The business plan for this town, the business plan that is in place between the town and the county benefits both the residents of the county and of the town. It was there to provide us the opportunity to offset the deficit. They pay half, we pay half, their taxpayers get to come in the same rate as us. We don't have a two-tier system. The plan that was created still makes sense. Everybody knows that, including our good neighbors at the county. They understand the importance of it. That a councillor goes in with a council-made motion to discuss that issue, and it's on their agenda, and we go in to discuss the issues. We might have not followed the proper protocol. They might not have even liked the message I gave. But the bottom line is that I shouldn't, as an elected official for the people of the town of High Prairie, have to second guess everything I say to our neighbors and benefactors over there in the county to have all this money, and God forbid that I should say something out of line and jeopardize all of our funding and set us back 20 years, and oh my God, then what'll happen? And then we'll have to shut down facilities and we'll have to lay people off, and all because Michael Long said something that they disagreed with and followed a process that they disagreed with. If that's how sensitive, if that's how fragile our relationship is, then I'm sorry that I am the one that caused the walls of Jericho to come tumbling down. And they gotta grow up. Because the bottom line is that although I didn't follow the procedural protocols properly based on our motion that was made by Councillor Panasic, so at the end of the day, we still have to look at the dissolution of the rec board. Rec society, rec committee society, does the fundraising, does not need the rec board. The society does not need the board. The board costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to maintain and to run. Thousands of dollars of our taxpayers' dollars for councillors to attend these committee meetings. For what? For something that shouldn't be in place to begin with. That we've been told, just as important as not hiring a certain CAO. It was just as important as that one. And yet, I started on it right from day one. Right at the All Candidates Forum, I spoke about the rec board. So I've been consistent in saying that the rec board shouldn't be there. I've been consistent for 4 years saying it's time, and it needed to go, and we needed to follow that, and we didn't. Now, I don't necessarily apologize that it's created this kerfuffle, because it needed to be created. I think that putting it out there in an assertive way, representing the needs of our constituents, respecting the municipal affairs, and not getting us into that arrogance phase of we know better. We've been here for 4 years, man, we know better. We're not gonna follow it. No, we should be following it to the letter. Because we followed 68 of those recommendations, and then all of a sudden, 69 sat. Now, I appreciate that Councillor Courtley's working on it. Thank you. I apologize for muddying up the waters. I don't apologize for putting that motion up and supporting that motion.
I have a problem with the, I myself, only the date is a problem. The rest of it, I stood behind. And the reason that I have a problem with this is, the reason I have a problem with the slowness of the dissolution, the slowness of the discussions on this, is because we have a legal liability that has put us as a council in jeopardy for anything that happens at that pool. We are the pool owner. We cannot designate, or we cannot relieve our responsibility by assigning it to the Recreation Board. The liability comes back to the town, not to the county, not to the Rec Board, to the town, and it comes to the councillors that are sitting around this table. Now that we are aware of our legal responsibility, to me, I would require a lawyer's opinion as to how fast do we have to move in order to rectify the circumstances that are occurring at the pool. And the reason I'm saying there are circumstances occurring is that the Life Saving Organization of Canada has never done an audit on our pool in 10 years. That organization is the gold standard for auditing all pools in our province. Every 3 to 5 years, an audit is performed on aquatic facilities. Ours, never. That means, again, that we are not fulfilling our obligation to make sure that that pool is being run to the standard that is required. They do lifeguard analysis. They do site station to make sure that we are seeing that the lifeguards are positioned in the right way. They look to see what the training is. I have asked repeatedly, what is the training of the lifeguards? And in fact, Donna asked at the 2 council meetings ago. There's no response. I don't know what the training is, but I do not feel confident that unless the audit is performed, I don't feel confident because there's nobody there that has any training in this type of situation. And now that we're aware of it, again, I think we have a legal liability, big legal liability, and even more so if there is an accident of any kind. Hopefully there isn't any, because then we become criminally negligent because we knew there was a problem and we did nothing. So again, what is the time space to say, how much time do you require in order to get this situation resolved and back under the owner's purview, which would mean that we would then have the means, or we would have a structure that is under council's responsibility, and I would feel like, okay, we're running well because we know what they are. Same as our water treatment plant. We don't farm out our water treatment plant to a committee to run and expect, oh, here's the money, go ahead and look after it. The water system is too important. It's run by our town, by our staff, underneath our CAO. And this to me is the same thing. We have, it was brought up that the workers' compensation is part of our responsibility. And yet we're not getting information on any claims. So where is the line, the chain that says, yes, you're doing things that are supposed to be done in a timely manner? Not there. So I would suggest that we find out, how long do we have before it becomes, well, you knew about it and you didn't do anything. Councillor Rose.
So just to follow up to some of the safety concerns and legal concerns, and I agree with you, if we don't have 100% the answer, and I guess I would assume that you would know more than I. You've been on the board for a longer period of time. So all I'm going to be able to do is share what I know now, and I've had the opportunity to talk with legal counsel about some of these topics, and one of them was the process of the town being the owner and the agent being the Recreation Board Society. Like, it was set up the way it was supposed to be set up, and it was set up to mitigate liability and to deal with the responsibility properly. Now, it doesn't hurt to make sure, or to get another opinion, and for council to feel comfortable while this process is going on, that we are covered. Now, there is liability insurance. There's liability insurance for the recreation board, the society. There's liability insurance for the council that's there. We have liability insurance as councillors. There's lots of insurance in place to cover situations. Now, I know you provided a lot of information in this package. A lot of this information was provided, some of this information was provided to us in a package that we received from the pool manager. So some of it I know that has been ongoing, but a lot of what we have here is an incident that happened in a pool 10 years ago. I mean, no different than, I'm sure, a public works issue or an issue at an airport. I mean, the opportunity for liability exists in every aspect. So the recreation board was set up in order for us to have a relationship with the county. Once upon a time, there was not a good relationship with the county, but everybody still wanted to be part of recreation, right? So this is part of why this worked. They put together a recreation board to be able to feel comfortable handing over their $500,000 and the town funding $500,000 in order for the whole area to have the level of service that we wanted them to have. We can't do it all by ourselves. So that's my concern here, is that we can't do it all by ourselves. The region needs for us to be able to work together and to not cause differences in opinion and personality conflicts, and allow that to guide this, because one, a motion was already made. It was already on the table. We were trying to follow the Johns route, right? We brought that forward, the conversation started. There is a board restructuring meeting already scheduled, 2 CAOs, 4 board members, 1 rec director, already scheduled. There is a schedule for a pool light. There have been regular quarterly inspections by Alberta Health Services with reports attached to them. Just the other day, there was a Alberta Health Service inspector that had stopped by the pool because they got a tip that maybe they weren't operating with the proper licenses and certifications. They found out that they were operating with the proper licenses and certifications. So we've done our due diligence, making sure that to the best of our ability and the information provided to us, that we are following standards. Now maybe not every recommendation, because maybe we can't always follow a recommendation, or maybe we need, that's right, maybe we need an opportunity to look a little deeper into some of those recommendations. Maybe we need some more funding to be able to enhance and raise the level up. But every standard that we needed to meet, every regulation, every safety standard, we think. Now, I mean, we could find out, just like I'm sure we could probably investigate Public Works and find some little glitch that they're not following, not meaning to not follow, right? So you may find that out at the pool, but we have. You guys have to understand that we did. We got a 24-page document handed to us in the middle of February, same date that you got that document. It took us a lot of time to go through and do our due diligence and make sure what were the concerns. Were there concerns? Were there something that we really needed to address in all of this information? And after all of the research, and it took a long time, we did deduct that the pool is safe. The certifications are in place.
But
So we
they're not.
didn't. But again, it's just like, I don't know why, which certification do you feel like is not in place then?
You've never had a lifeguard audit done in 10 years.
But
From a
again,
certified
a
outfit.
recommendation to have that done, yes, there's no guideline that says you have to, there's no rule out there that says you have to. It's a recommendation that you should get one done.
It's the best practices of all aquatic facilities throughout Alberta, recommended by the Alberta government. Alberta Health Services, certainly, they do pool, water quality, they do assessment of chemicals, that type of thing. They do not do whether or not you have the adequate staff to look after the patrons that are in our pool. That leads to liability on our behalf, because now we know we have not had an audit. We haven't had an audit, we've done nothing to mitigate anything at this point, other than make this motion that says we want to enter into discussions to bring the pool underneath the,
The audit is a recommendation, and I agree with you, and it has even been ordered.
it has been ordered.
It has been.
Councillor Danaka?
I mean, the rec board is an anomaly. It always has been, and we've struggled with the effectiveness, non-effectiveness, should we have it, should we not have it. Prior to this, this motion, I think that we didn't have necessarily all the information that we should have or needed to decide that motion or even bring forth that motion. I think we've had some misinformation that has kind of skewered our thoughts and taken us in directions. But I sit here and when the county is discussed, and I listen to what some people say about the county, and it causes me to think, because to me, I'm hearing that the county is the be-all and the end-all to the survival of how High Prairie will move forward and grow and survive. Yes, our partnership with them has done great things for us, but I think we have to look at them as the county and us as the town, and we have a relationship with them that's been working, and just because we question how they do things, and I'm sure they question how we do things, and just the impression that I'm getting is that we have to be nice to them. We have to be nice to them. Well, we have our citizens of the town that we have to think of and not so much worry about, oh my God, what's the county gonna think? What's the county gonna do? You know, and I'm getting the impression that, oh, we really pissed them off, so I think they're gonna pull their money, or they're not gonna wanna partner with us anymore. Well, I think that's a stretch. Like, honestly, I really do. I mean, we may not have followed the proper procedures, but we didn't have that information either to know that there's a 6-month window that you have to go through when you want to change something. But we didn't have that information at the time. And it really bothers me in the sense that you've mentioned, and Brian and Arlen have commented about how our relationship with the county has improved and it's prospered and we're respectful, and yet I hear Councillor Long say, as I'm leaving because I brought this issue up, they call me an asshole. And I'm thinking, really? That's good. That shows respect. And I mean, it's just, I don't understand why some of the councillors have such this high opinion of the county, that they're great and they're wonderful. Yes, we partner with them, but we're great and wonderful too, as a council. And we have to realize that just because they're there and we're here and we work together, we have to look at the interests of our town as opposed to the feelings of how the council feels, or how the county's gonna feel if we say something. That's just my opinion.
My original purpose in this was accountability, trying to get something done before an election, because it seems that the rec board reminds me of, excuse the expression, the way we handled Toko before the town and the county and the First Nation and the Métis all got together to work together. It just seemed to be next year, next year, next year. And if you really want to talk about relationships, if it wasn't for this council, I honestly believe, and I can be proved wrong on this, that Toko would not be reopening, because who was it that actually focused on getting arranging the meeting where everyone was an equal partner? Who was it that arranged the meeting with the minister there? We worked as a team. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about. We will find ways to work together. Okay, and they're not going to punish their, as far as I'm concerned, they would be silly to punish their own taxpayers by being punitive on the whole thing. But at the same time, Councillor Panesic said the same thing that I've been trying to say when he said, let's just let the CAOs put it together, which is what I've been saying. I said, let's have the time frame for them to report back to us with a framework. Not to bring it totally under as of this date, but give them the leeway to do their job, but an accountability where they're back to us in a timely manner with something, because the people of this town deserve better than for us to say, oh, well, it's in the process and it'll work. And it just seems that they're not, I don't think the town people are getting, and I'll get hot water for this too, the respect they deserve if we're going to continue to just let things go on and on and on. It's about time we've got these wonderful people hired. We've got we've got a wonderful, because I work with a lot of these councillors on the county. I have no problem working with them. Okay? Maybe they call me names behind my back. I don't know. But I mean, they're wonderful people. They have the best interest of our whole area in mind. And so let's get the framework done. If you want to rescind the motion and then make a new motion that just says that they come back with a framework by this date, as opposed to bringing it under the town control by this date, at least we have accountability. But we need something because our people deserve better than they're getting right now.
And I will bring to the council's attention that the intermunicipal portion of the agreement does not speak about the facilities. It talks about the recreation board planning, operating, and maintaining recreation programs and services for the fulfillment of the leisure time of the residents of High Prairie and Big Lakes. We have no legal obligation in place at this time that says that we have transferred the facilities to the recreation board, the recreation society. Pardon?
They're just operating.
They're just operating them.
Town owned.
Yes, and so the responsibility of the facilities could come back at any time, because there's no time frame saying that we give you the responsibility of our facilities. It's only the programs and the services. Councillor Rose.
Basically, we went over their heads when a motion was made. That's the concern. That's the basic concern. We went over their heads. We basically said, we don't trust Ireland, we don't trust Don Sharwa, we don't trust Dave, we don't trust Debbie to do this. Even though we said, we made a motion, we're moving it forward. CAOs, rec director, going to respective CAOs, coming back to our council, that was the process, and this council did know that. That's the biggest concern, is that we didn't allow, and maybe we don't understand their council, and maybe we all don't understand their council, right? They have more members than we do. They have a larger area. They have some areas like Canuso and Swan Hills that are part of their counties that don't really feel like they're that attached to the town of High Prairie, so they have to handle things differently, right? They wanted the opportunity to present it to their council. So the councillors that are on the rec board, their wards are close to the town of High Prairie, and they support it maybe differently because their residents in those wards use the facilities, drive on the roads, right? So that's why, they were the same councils that were very supportive when we had conversations about infrastructure dollars. This was the first council to get infrastructure dollars from the county to be able to enhance some of the services here for all of the residents. They got it, but not every one of their councillors and every one of their residents feels the same way. So we denied them the right to handle it the way it was started. And that's why I think that we should consider rescinding the motion just to allow the process that we started, that we put in place, that Brian confirmed is in place, to continue.
Councillor Janaka?
I just have a comment. So, when this motion came out, our Councillor Courtney, you weren't here, but everybody supported the motion. That this motion, everybody, it was carried unanimously. There was no opposition to it or whatever. So, and now you know, you're saying we should have followed realized that the process was in place and it was moving forward, and you know, we shouldn't do this, which is fine to make this motion. And so now, because the county is upset with us for going over their head or making the motion saying, well, we want to do this, that you're coming back now and saying we should rescind this because we went over the county's head. It's the county's head, or is it the rec board head? Like the whole rec board process. I'm confused here. Which one is it?
We didn't allow the members of the rec board who made the motion, the process to make the move the way they were hoping to make the move. The way they saw that if we were just respecting everybody and respecting process. Now I agree, I voted for the motion, and that was a mistake. Now we didn't have a request for decision in that package. We had a lot of information provided to us that evening. We did not know what kind of motion until we started talking, what kind of motion was going to be made out of our session. And I supported a motion that was less damaging, because I saw that there was going to be no happy end to this situation. Not one that I was going to be happy with, not the one that I supported. I tried to say, and I said, you know, we run the risk of creating some relationship damages and not following this process. I didn't understand, because I kept on saying the process has been started. I don't see the value in doing this. I mean, I understand. You maybe got some phone calls about somebody losing their job at the pool. I understand that. And
Again, that doesn't bother me.
but unfortunately, like, I wish if it was that important that one of you would have called one of us, or one of the county, you know, or the rec director, anybody that could have helped you find out some of the information, right? But nobody called. So unfortunately, I mean, we can't go back, and we can't do things differently. All we can kind of do is, you know, kind of work from here. But I did provide that information, right? You guys did know that the motion was made. And we explained that that process had already happened. We did even explain that Brian had one meeting already. So we knew that, but that's it. We didn't allow the process to work its way out. Unfortunately, Councillor Panasic was trying to mitigate what was looking like it was going to be maybe a negative situation to the best of his ability. And I did support that, because I thought, I really think that we should be working as a team. I don't even want to be part of this if we can't work as a team. But I actually see us as part of a team with the county. I actually do. And I see it with First Nations, and I see it with Métis. And I really hope that that's the way, whatever people that decide to go forward. Because, I mean, Michael, you even said, I find, you know, restoring our professional relationships with the MD of Big Lakes. That was one of your council promises. Working with a council who works together for the citizens of High Prairie, right? Like, yeah. But then why didn't you call me? But why didn't you call me or Arlen and ask about what's going on, guys? Hey, we're a team. Linda, why didn't you just come to us?
I called you and you didn't answer. I called Mr. Councillor Marks. He did not know anything about it
in
at
February, when you had a letter from...
It was in March.
No, I'm just saying, in February, when you had a letter from the aquatics manager, obviously, we didn't realize that. Obviously, her concern was escalated to the point where she went from us to you. We didn't know that. Why didn't you come to us?
I did. I came in camera and I talked with the council here.
Yep.
And,
Explain.
on March 24th, not on February 15th when you had the letter. So on March 24th, no, what I'm just saying, that's a month and a week later, So those are.
4 years since we had to get rid of the rep word and
So
still
I'm
hasn't
just
happened.
saying, why did we not try to work together when we had those pieces? We could have worked together better.
Yeah.
Councillor Panasic?
I think your concern, Donna, one of them was, this motion, I brought this forward to rescind because part of it is, yes, we have, I think, damaged some relationships and that's part of it, but only part of it. I think the other part of it is, what's the long-term strategy to put in place to make the new recreation look good moving ahead? And I don't want to see that rushed into place. I want to see that well thought out. I know a little bit later in this package is maybe somebody that could have some ideas, an outside person that might give us some ideas on how to best organize this and let this run and get set up properly in the long run so every party is happy. And we need to, we need to rescind this motion, let the rest of that process take place. But, and just one other thing, I just want to ask Brian's opinion on, do you think you can move all of this across in, these timeframes and do a good job of organizing all of that and making both parties happy?
I don't think the time frame is there, on the date of, May 31st. No, I think it's gonna be at least a month after that, at least.
At least. And why would we want to, this is my opinion,
Yeah.
why would we want to rush that and just take the time to do this process right? That's my opinion.
I have one more comment on the process that everybody's talking about, process. Why didn't we let the process go? Part of this motion was because it is not up to the Recreation Board to direct our administration, the CAO, to work with the county CAO to produce a plan. What should have happened, and no process was done in this, is that the Recreation Board should have had their director send a letter to the town and ask for it to be put on the agenda. And that is the process that should have happened, and that was one of the reasons why we're saying we don't know anything about this process because nobody has told us anything about this process. And no letter has still come forth from the Recreation Board saying, could you please put this on your agenda as an item? So, we're working in a vacuum because we're not getting any information. And part of the information that I have never received, that's not true, I did finally get it. When you talk about trying to get information from the Recreation Board, it's extremely difficult. Even as a board member, I had to ask repeatedly to get an organization chart. And I still, to this day, do not know how many people work at the Recreation Board. When it says has over 30 employees, 33. How many of those are full-time positions? How many of those are part-time? How many are seasonal? How many, nothing, no information at all. And there was not 33 people on the recreational org chart. There was not. There was probably 15. So the rest of them, I assume, were part-time students, that kind of thing, which I understood. But still, an organization chart should be available to the board members, and it never did. And then to actually ask, well then who are the people that work there? Why do you want to know? I will tell you why I want to know. I am not intimately involved with the Sports Palace, the Gordon Buchanan Center, the swimming pool on a regular basis. When I walk in there, I would kind of like to have an inkling who is working here and who is just hanging around with their friends. Because they're rink rats, or they're, we have a lot of people here and they drop in for coffee and whatever. How does that make me feel when I go in there and I address someone and say, hi, how are you? And what's your plan? Or how chit-chat? I don't work here. while you're wearing a recreation jacket. Well, I don't work here, I'm just visiting. And that was a problem that I had constantly the whole time that I was on the recreation board. So don't tell me that information is freely transparent and everything like that. It is not. Unless maybe you're in the know or you're part of the recreation clique. Because I'm not, and I never have been, and I probably never will be, because I am not recreation focused. I just want to make sure this town runs well and provides the facilities for the citizens. That's where I come from. Now, is there anybody else that can add anything to this discussion that's different from what we have already heard? Councillor Long, last chance.
So, it's a question to Councillor Courtly. If the date is dropped and the motion goes forward without the date, and that gives you time to get your ducks in a row, and the letter gets sent off to the county of the motion, would that suffice at this stage of the game? And yeah, go ahead.
Oh, good.
No, I'm just being cognizant of the in-camera. I have to make sure. So, but yeah, that's the question.
Honestly, the push and the whole idea of it is to hurry and be as fast as we can. Now, when I say that, I mean there's relationships and there's time restraints and there's trying to get everybody on the same page to even have a meeting is difficult. But we've said, and we've said it again, is that this has to happen quickly, because now quicker than obvious, right? I mean, it will come quicker now with this motion and with the awareness and everything going on. It's all to light now, so there's no question. Everybody knows what's going on. So it should happen quicker, in theory. But like I said, to get the board to see both CEOs, because Roy's really busy too, and he's explained how busy he is. Brian's really busy, and to get time to all go together and meet and put something together, it does take time. Timeline, I can't give you a timeline, because it's out of my hands as far as time. All I can say is the focus is there, and we want it to happen. We want it to happen fast. I would have had it happen a week ago, but it physically won't. I mean, but if we keep working positively towards it, it will happen. The timeline, I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope it's sooner than later.
Right.
Sooner the better, put it that way.
Yeah.
Right? And I just want you to know, this has all come about, like I've said before, just from seeing and looking at how things should be run. And I hate overlap. I hate inefficiencies and stuff like that. And that's why I think when we're all said and done, it'll be positive in my mind, the way we have it idealized, right? So, but it's going to take a little time, and it's going to take, because there's a lot of personnel, and that all has to be transferred, and it all has to be, however it's said and done in the long run. If we end up with a division of the town that's just recreation, however we decide it, it'll be positive. It will be good, and we want to make sure, and make no mistake, our focus is to make sure that everybody's looked after, whether they're coming out of the rec board office or an employee, a part-time employee, or whatever. We want to make sure that everybody's looked after. Nobody's going to get fired. We don't want anybody to get fired.
No.
We want everybody to, because I think there's room in both places. We've kind of asked and looked and talked about different ideas to make sure that everybody's looked after, because we have to be cognizant of everybody's jobs. Everybody's got to work, right? So that's our focus. We're trying to make sure it's right for our community, first and foremost. Our people in the town first, people that use the facilities, onward from there. That we have to look after ourselves. So that's why we're doing that.
Okay, thanks.
He didn't give you a date.
I can give you a date. That's why I said I can't give you a date. Sooner the better.
Yeah.
I physically can't give you a date because there's too much transferring of, and we gotta go through legalities too. We have to work on it.
We have to work on the intermunicipal too. I don't know how that's gonna come into play here. There's a lot of cogs, but if we're all on the same page working towards it, it will happen, right?
So the rescinding of the motion is what's on. Councillor
I
Panassa?
just wonder when, I think moving ahead, I mean, we're gonna vote on rescinding this motion. And then if we want to make another motion, then we should put it on as an agenda item and have all of the information that we need properly brought in and presented, and maybe an estimate of timelines, because there seems to be a concern about timelines here. Personally, I'm not as concerned because I know it's gonna happen and I want it done right, but timelines that would come from Brian and Roy and the rec board on what timelines that could meet. So I think that's the way we should do this, right, with an estimate of timelines.
Can I just add that?
Councillor,
We do have already a meeting set for Tuesday, so we'll have information after Tuesday. We have a meeting with both CEOs, our rec director and the board to mastermind, and so we'll have a better direction after that on timing, because by then they've had their meeting too, so they'll have information coming out of their meeting that we can utilize.
so again, I bring to your attention that we have no, the CAO has no authority from us to enter into these negotiations. So you're going to have to make a motion, if you rescind this motion, to direct administration to work with this. You can't put it on as an RFD and have it come up 2 weeks from now, because he's having a meeting immediately. So after this, if this is rescinded, then you're still gonna have to make a motion to give our CAO direction, and Councillor Gilroy was first.
I'm very much agreeing with Councillor Long. If this is to be struck down, I see no problem with doing the same motion but without a date on it, to give flexibility, because technically, if you really want to go with it, you've just said that since our CAO Martinson is not maybe he is a member of the rec board, I don't think he is, and he's not an employee of the rec board, therefore he has no legal right to enter into these things, and I like to just give him the ability to enter in. Brian's talked about it, he said let the CEOs deal with it. A new motion would just allow him the freedom to do it without stepping on anybody's toes. It just says we want to give them the ability to chat, and then the rec board does not have to ask us for permission to waste more time to then get the CAO. It's just moving it so that freedom's there.
Councillor Panassa?
I don't believe for our CAO to have a discussion with another CAO that they have to have a motion to talk about any topic. They talk about things all the time, and they can bring it up and talk about it, because we're not asking for a formalized decision. We're asking for them to have a talk and bring something back to us in another RFD. We ask our CAO to do things like that all of the time. It's not a formal motion, it's a, please bring this up, have this discussion, bring it back.
Did you have something to say?
You put it that way as you put it that way as it's, could you do us a favor? Have a talk with them, see where it's going, get back to us. But what you're doing is you're asking the CAO to enter into a discussion with the other CAO and then get back to you once they've had that discussion. That to me says you're overstepping the boundaries, and you don't have the authority to ask the CAO to sit down with the other CAO you have the authority that you could probably bring it to council and discuss, but you don't have the authority. The rec board does not have that kind of authority.
It's the council that's asking, not the rec.
We're not asking, sorry, Councillor Gilroy?
Just 2 final points very quickly. One, according to what I've heard from our 2 rec board people, they've already had our CAO begin talks with the rec director and the CAO, so it's no longer a casual thing. And I believe that whenever we talk, and I've been told this before, that if I go to a meeting such as, and they know that I'm a councillor, that I technically represent the town, even if I don't say I'm there as a member of town, as we found out with one of the meetings I was at. And so I think we need to, if they've already started the process, which sounds like they have, we need to make it official. And then whatever is said can be done with the freedom that it is a conversation. However, there's no misunderstanding that he has the right to help with this framework, with the rec director, with the CAO, with whoever needs to be involved. And he can even, if the rec board wants, attend the rec board meetings and work that way so that everybody's happy.
Okay. All right then, I don't think there's anything more to add to this discussion. So we have a motion to rescind, recorded vote is requested. A motion to rescind council motion 182/17.
Now, so it's just, we're just taking the motion right off.
We are rescinding that motion.
So then there's an option for a secondary motion.
Yes, there is. And it's a recorded vote.
Okay.
So, all those in favor of rescinding the motion? Opposed? All right, does anybody want to make another motion? Councillor Gilroy.
I will make the motion that council direct administration to enter into discussions with Big Lakes County to dissolve the High Prairie and District Recreation Board and transfer the operation of the recreation facilities to the town of High Prairie, but without a date on it. Okay.
Stops there.
And just and return back to us. Return back to our council with some sort of help me out, Michael.
Keep
Return,
it simple.
Okay.
return with recommendations.
Okay, there. Return with recommendations of the framework.
Recommendations of the framework. Councillor, Mr. Martinson?
Did you have the word dissolve in there?
Well,
Can you read back the motion?
yeah. I did use it, I used the exact same,
Sorry, I used the exact same wording except for the date on it, and then added it. I want you to come back with framework.
I just wonder if, remove the word dissolve and maybe look at ways to restructure the High Prairie District Recreation Board instead of dissolving it.
You see, there is no way that you can restructure the recreation board because the board is the society. So you can't ask a society, a standalone society, to restructure themselves. All you can do is return with recommendations of a framework. So, and that is, they're a standalone society. You would be making, well, maybe the treasurer has a different point of view.
The only reason I'm getting involved in the conversation is because I know about nonprofit organizations and societies, how they work. Basically, you do not necessarily have to get them to dissolve at all. They may want to stay in place and just change what they're going to do. And there's all sorts of options of what they can do. So you don't want to have the word dissolving them into your motion because you may not want to dissolve the board. You may want to keep the board in effect, but not have the board run your operations. So you don't want to dissolve the board. You don't want that in your thing.
Restructure?
So that's my comment because I know about nonprofits.
Just to look at.
Would you be worth restructure?
I'll put the restructuring in there instead of dissolving if you bring us a couple options.
Okay.
Okay? I just want to make sure that something gets done and that.
I already have concerns because if we're not looking at dissolving, then we're looking at rebranding. And we're looking at renaming the society, but what is it? The rec board as a society, maybe I have to be this clear. The rec board as a society, I mean, if it still exists and it's still doing its thing and still creating that block of inappropriate governance, for lack of a better word, I'm not in favor of it. I question how much changing or dissolving would happen.
But
And that's just my concern.
I know what you're saying, but again, the society is a standalone.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, you have to change your operation. The operation will change if they have no facilities. So they become, perhaps they become an advisory board. Maybe they strike out on their own and they start fundraising for a splash park of their own. That's nothing to do with us.
Or they look after the sports equipment, or they,
All those
There's
things.
lots
There's lots of
things
things that they can do, as well as fundraise, right? Like there's that opportunity.
there's lots for society to do.
And so the restructure would be, you don't have any facilities to run. Go find another playground. Councillor Donato?
And maybe this is just adding fuel to the fire, but if the rec board society is dissolved, we still have the sports complex society. They could be the.
No.
They don't
no,
have
we
society
No,
status.
we don't.
They lost their, okay,
They lost their status.
okay.
They're dissolving and reforming, restructuring.
Okay, so we have that motion. I'd like a recorded vote on this one also.
Can you reread it, please?
Okay,
Can you use your mic, please?
oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so, Councillor Gilroy recommended that his motion was, if I can say it right, but he pretty well read it from the paper here, so. Council passed a motion 182-17 which read, Council direct administration to enter into discussions with Big Lakes County, but we're gonna use the word to restructure the High Prairie and District Recreation Board and transfer operation of the recreation facilities to the town of High Prairie as of no date.
Now, the piece that you're going to add
Yeah.
is, and return with recommendations
Okay.
of a framework. Is that hard enough?
Brian, do you wanna put a date on there? No, then no date on this, we're good with that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we'll be monitoring.
We can unofficially,
We will be asking, and I do think that Mr. Martinson was wanting this done before the election.
Yes.
So, also, I would like to make a motion, I've got to vote on that one,
That's a recording.
there's a recorded vote.
and it's a recorded, so all in favor of that motion? What is it? The motion is,
Can I read?
yeah,
That council direct administration to enter into discussions with Big Lakes County to restructure the High Prairie. Should we look at ways to restructure? No.
just restructure.
We restructure the High Prairie and District
Recreation Board and transfer operations of the recreation facility to the town of High Prairie. And return with recommendations of a framework.
Does this supersede our negotiations already then, or is it just continue on?
Just continues.
Well,
It gives him the authority now to continue.
You guys can now call him in to do whatever you want to do.
is there any way to frame it in the way that it makes it sound like we're just trying to give authority to do with the rec? Because basically you're saying that the motion that was put in place, we didn't really have authority to put in place because we can't, without a motion of this council, direct administration.
That's what it says. Council directs the administration.
We're giving him permission to do what you've already asked him to do. You asked him to give the other CAO and with the rec director, we're giving him permission to actually enter those pots and do the work you asked him to do.
But the motion didn't say anything about the rec director, it just said
Well-
Big Lakes County.
And it doesn't say anything about the fact that there's a motion in place. Like, I mean, I would have liked that we supported the rec board's motion, and that this council gives our CAO authorization to support that motion.
I'm letting mine stand.
I think it basically says the same thing. We didn't get a copy of the motion from the rec board, so.
I don't know that I'm comfortable with that, but.
Councillor Portland?
Can I ask you why you're so staunch on doing it that way, please?
I'm staunch on this because all I'm saying is exactly what I wanted to say from the beginning, which is this council is giving permission to our administration to enter into talks with Big Lakes County. No, that's why I'm staunch. This is what I've had from the beginning. I wanted that if we're going to restructure this, I want to make sure that our administration, our CAO, has permission to enter any talks with Big Lakes County. It could be, the board's made up of Big Lakes County people too. So it's just Big Lakes County. Admin, CAO, you've already got some of the stuff going. It's just giving them an official word to do it. And I don't see any problem with this motion. If it's not appropriate, vote it down.
Okay, we gotta finish this because we've got some other stuff in here that has got to be looked at. We've got a subdivision application.
Well, we did the subdivision.
Oh, we've done that.
That's Carol.
But we do have the library board appointment. We do
I'll
have-
bring it back to the next,
The library board can
next Tuesday.
go.
Just while you're looking at that, one of my concerns with this motion is that there's not we're not saying he has the ability to enter into discussions with the rec board. It just says with Big Lakes County, period, to restructure. But he should be dealing with the recreation board and Big Lakes County to restructure. And leave it at that. Well, that's one of the issues with
The
it.
recreation board is a creature of Big Lakes County and the town. So why would you enter into discussions with the recreation board?
Because the board is going to be discussing that, right? The board will be having those discussions. Can he walk into a recreation board meeting? He's not
Should
saying.
be able to.
Well, I'd just like to.
Okay, well,
That's one of my issues.
okay. So we were having I've requested a recorded vote. All in favor of the motion as stands? Opposed? Motion is carried. Did you get the three that were opposed?
Courtly, Rose, and
Panasik.
Panasik.
Okay. I actually, and one more thing on this, I would like to make a motion to request a legal opinion as to, how fast, what actions do we have to take to show that, we are, performing, that we are, horrible motion. I'll bring it back to the next meeting, but I need to, at least we have that one motion, but we have a problem with liability, and I think we have to show that we are dealing with that liability. And we're only gonna be able to do that with,
That would be with all our facilities and not just that one.
well, the pool is the one that we are, legally, and it basically says, it deals with the pool, not with the other facilities. And it's the pool I'm worried about, that if we don't show that we are acting upon doing something in a timely manner, then we are negligent in that. Okay, we have 5 minutes, so what are we going to, we're gonna table 5B3. That's your party. Emerge Solutions. Are we interested, let's see now, we have a meeting next week. Yeah, 5B4, Emerge Solutions. Do you wanna deal with that? Or do you want to move the rest of this to the, next meeting on Tuesday?
Move it all.
Pardon?
Move it all.
Move it all. Okay, so that's starting with that. So you have, and is there anything else you need to know or anything that you require.
What about your library appointment?
You really need to go to the library.
All right, you've got,
Not there.
okay, what page?
39.
That's 5B,
39.
Okay,
96, page 39.
Just someone quickly make a motion, let's put her on there.
Councillor Rose?
The council appoint Ms. Simone Blaha to sit as a member at large on the library board.
Okay, can you tell me how long this term is that we're appointing this person?
3 years.
I am not speaking in support of this motion because this person has been on for 7 years, 9 years, 10 years, 9 years. And I believe we need somebody fresh on that board. I don't mind a 6-month appointment. When do the rest of them come up? Are they all staggered or do they come?
This one is 3 years. The other ones are, ours of course are every year. And,
I think I'm
Alan-
October. I would support it until October, but I am not prepared for a 3-year term again. I think, again, we need new blood on that board and,
Donna, isn't this dictated by the libraries act, or,
Yeah.
so if you point it on for 3 years,
Or-
I think, yeah.
You can appoint her, like you can't appoint her for 6 months. It's for the 3-year term.
then I'm not prepared. This has been an ongoing, I'm not, the rest of you might. This has been ongoing, and the term, 9 years is too long to sit on the same board that is supposed to be a membership in the community. So, no, I'm not sure what the rest of you feel like.
We have asked for membership from the community though, right?
That we need to explain again that we are requiring, we have to have change in our community.
Well, let's quickly vote on the motion and we've got 1 minute left.
Okay. Anybody else wants to speak to it? You got 30 seconds. So, all in favor of the motion for Simone Black? Opposed? And that is defeated. So the motion is defeated. I think we'll, do you want a motion to advertise it again? You'll advertise it again. Okay, that's, put it on the newsletter. We're looking for new blood. And I think that is it
So are you gonna come back?
for, Swan Hill's anniversary celebration. Oh, you got time.
You got
Oh, no.
it's in the May. You got
Yeah.
time to-
Okay. Adjourn the meeting.
Tuesday, 7.
So Tuesday at 7. The special meeting will be, do that and.
I don't know if my first recording recorded, oh my god.
Week today.
She's at 11 o'clock.